We all love stories. Most people love to read them, but there are few who would prefer to listen. So, for those of you who prefer to listen, this is for you. Welcome to the Bible Stories. My name is Liz Kanye, and I'll be your host. Hello! Thank you so much for joining. I'm so glad that you could join us. This is the Bible Stories, home of Bible stories told in an African way. Karibu sana. Today I want to tell you a story that I believe is going to bless you, and I hope that you will be encouraged. So we've talked about the children of Israel. So God settled them in Canaan, and they lived there for a bit, for quite a while. They had, what is it called? They had fought, they had removed people, the It tribes, and they had settled within Canaan. But then they would do things that were wrong before God, and God told them, if you disobey me, I'm going to wipe you out of this land. But they didn't listen. So at some point, God actually caused a king of Babylon, he was called Nebuchadnezzar, to come and take them out. So it's like, what would happen, these powerful kings, they would go and conquer a country, and then they would take away the people of that country and take them to their place. Then they would become the king of all those places. So they would destabilize people. They would move people from here to here, like that. But mostly they would remove people from their countries and take them to where they are. So there happened to be some, now Nebuchadnezzar, where he was in Babylon, I think the people that were brought to him were the princes, the people of royal blood. They're the ones who were brought to him. So he asked that people, those royal people, that they be chosen, the ones who would serve in his court in future. So from Judah, because this was the, Israel at some point was divided into two, Israel and Judah. So this was Judah that had been captured. It was the last one to be captured. Israel was captured kitambo, because they sinned kitambo. They started worshiping other gods. But Judah took some time, some while. But eventually, even they abandoned God and they were captured. So now they have been captured and they're in Babylon. So the king, Nebuchadnezzar, he says, look for people of royal blood and set them apart. Train them in knowledge of Babylonian stuff. That means the way of worshiping their gods, their language, their customs, and things like those, so that these people can learn how to serve the king and in his court. So from Judah, there were four, I don't know whether I should call them boys or young men, but there were four that were chosen. There was one called Daniel, another was called Hananiah or Hananiah, it depends on who your English teacher was. There was Azariah, and there was Mishael. So these four, they qualified and they got trained, they got into the program. We would call it a program, a training program. So in this program, they would be given special food, a special diet. Their diet was much better than what others were getting. So Daniel looked at this food and he decided, this food, no. There was something about that food and his faith. And he knew this food might cause him to disobey his God, the God of heaven and earth. So he went to the guy in charge of the training, would call him like the chancellor or the program coordinator of that particular program. He went to him and he said, we don't want to eat this food. And the guy was like, how can I give you vegetables only? Because Daniel actually said, instead of giving us all this choice meat, I guess there was pork. I don't know, the Bible does not say what was there, but we know the Israelites do not eat pork, and they were told not to eat pork. They were not eating such. So I'm assuming there must have been pork and other meats and other choice meats. But so Daniel says, we do not want to eat this. We just want to eat cabbages, cucumbers, basically vegetables. And the guy says, the guy in charge, the program coordinator, he says, no, if I don't give you these choice foods, the king will definitely notice that you guys are not eating the same as these other people. Excuse me. And I will be in trouble. Then Daniel says, why don't you do this? You test us. For 10 days, let us just eat vegetables and water, and then you look at our countenance. If we look anything bad, then we will revert and we will eat the meats. But if we look okay, you will allow us to eat this. And the program coordinator said, Sawa. By the way, Daniel had favor with this guy. That is why he actually agreed to this. So for 10 days, they ate veggies and water. And by the end of the 10 days, their countenance was even better than their counterparts. And so the guy agreed to let them stay off be on a diet, really. So they were on a diet. They went for the training, they were trained, and they finished. Then in the course of the training, their names were changed. Daniel was called Belteshazzar. Mishael was called Meshach. Azariah was called Abednego. And Hananiah was called Shadrach. Those were the names they were given. They were Babylonian names, and they all had something to do with the Babylonian gods. So they went through the program, they went through the training, they were trained, and Daniel stood out. He understood visions and dreams. He began to interpret those, and they were doing very well. Then a time came when they had to go to the king, and they were presented to the king, and the king was testing them. And guess what? These 4 boys, they emerged 10 times wiser than every other person. So that is how God favored them. These are Hebrews who are not eating the food that others are eating, but somehow they became wiser than their counterparts. And that, people of God, is how these 4 boys were blessed by the Lord, and they received favor in the eyes of the king. And the Bible tells us that Daniel, he got into the service. All of them, they got appointed to serve with the king. But the Bible tells us specifically about Daniel that he served under this king and he served under other kings. So in total, he served under 4 kings. So what would happen? A king would come and fight these people, capture them, then he becomes the king of all those nations. So that happened, and Daniel served under all 4 of them. So that brings us to the end of today's story. I hope that you are blessed. If you want to read further, you can go to the Old Testament, the book of Daniel, chapter 1. That is where this story comes from. God bless you. Till next time.